Hi. Um, yeah, here's just a bit of a video of the overview and the operation of the EW1 winch for towing paragliders and hang gliders. Yep, so we've got a few topics, just an overview, setup and startup, safety, and towing with a torque versus a speed winch. Okay, so yeah, basically the way that this winch works is you dial in the tension that you want, and the controller automatically runs a control loop hundreds of times a second, monitoring the tension or the current through the motor, so how much torque it's applying, and just automatically adjusts it. So that's completely independent of the operator. You just set the tension that you would like maintained on the hand controller from 0 to 100% of the maximum tension that you'd like applied, that you set in the smartphone application. And yeah, basically as you command these on the controller, there's some torque ramps, so you can make it really aggressive or relatively soft, depending on your preference. And also as you're pulling in, if you in a paraglider or a hang glider you encounter strong thermal lift, if you go through something quite strong, it'll actually pay out the difference. So it'll maintain that set tension but allow it to pay out. So I'll just have a quick look at a couple of videos here which gives you an idea of the operation. So we can see in the video here that we've just set a light tension here. So I think it's about 20 kilos. So Tony's commanded that on the winch, and you can see here that as I pull it and apply more force, it'll just maintain that 20 kilos, wind it in, pull it out. And as you can see, it's all automatic on the controller. Tony's not doing anything there. As you can see, this represents quite well when you're actually waiting there and you're getting ready to launch. In the case of a paraglider, if you're inflating your wing and you're in the go slow stage, it'll make sure it keeps it out of your way on the take-up tension that the pilot's actually requested from the operator. And also for a hang glider, it's the same thing. So also, if we just get rid of this video and we just have a look here. We have a look at this video of it in operation. And we just bring it back to here. You can hear, so we've just got a set tension here, and as you can see, as the glider's being pulled up, it speeds up and slows down. Can be various things. As you can hear there, yeah, it's automatically adjusting it, speeding up and slowing down. Okay, so just go through the other parts of the winch here. Yeah, so basically got the trailer here. So we've got the battery system here, which is 72 volts, which consists of six 12 volt, 120 amp hour lead acid batteries, which will soon be upgraded to a lithium system. And those are charged and maintained by two independent charge controllers there, and they just balance each individual battery. And there's just a caravan, they're wired to a caravan plug on the side of the trailer, which makes it easy to connect. Just behind here, which we'll have a closer look in a sec, we've got the controller, and we've got the three-phase lead going into the three-phase motor here. We've got the drum sides here. We've got the protectors here, so what this does is if the line is suddenly let loose or flies back and it's slack, it'll hit those and not hit the high speed drum and get thrown back. And also there's a line catch guard here that goes from about here all the way around to there. Yeah, and the guide arm's just in behind there. We've just got the trailer back, which comes down. And as we'll see in a second, we've got the main power switch here and the localized power switch for the controller. So we've gone through the battery system, the winch. Yeah, we'll just have a look at the controller here.
Just looking at the controller here.
So yeah, this is the controller. You've got your localized power here. You've got your pre-charge button here, which we'll go into in a second, and your emergency stop button, which completely cuts all power to the winch. Yeah, it just cuts all pull on the winch in the case of an emergency. As we'll see in a second, there's also just where we put the operator hand controller in there. We've got the 3-shul 1000 amp controller, which we really only run at about maximum probably 350 amps. We've got a circuit breaker in there, and we've got the high current contactor that's wired into the emergency stop there. And we've got the 3-phase connector here, which goes to the motor. We've got some other assorted things. It's part of a radio system. That's some additional functionality that we'll have hopefully later for some self-towing. Yeah, that's what else have we got there? Controller, winch. We've also got the smartphone app, which is where you set the setting the maximum tension on the winch and look at your diagnostic things. I'll go into the use of that in a second. We've also got the chute, which goes on the end of the line, which maintains strong drag so that when the dyneema line is wound onto the motor that it doesn't get tangled. It has a nice tight wrap, which is very important when you're operating and retrieving the line, that it's tightly wrapped on. Yeah, that's most of it. So we'll go through this, basically the procedure for setting this up. So really you just disconnect the trailer from the vehicle if you're taking it off the vehicle. Actually, just out of interest, I'll just show underneath. It just shows how we've attached the winch stand itself. So those are galvanized brackets there, and M12 bolts, and the battery system there is all anchored. So yeah, it's all Loctited as well. Yeah, okay, so you'd normally just undo the trailer. So we'll just move on to our next section there. Yeah. Trailer battery. Okay. Okay, so yeah, basically we just undo the trailer. and it's got a dolly leg on the front of it that you can adjust the height with. So you also want to just pop the, where are we? It's just got some stabilizing legs on it. So we can see here, we'll be using caravan chocks on either side of the wheels. Yeah, this was just temporary for the video. These will do fine, but yeah, we'll be having chocks on both the front and the back of the wheels, so that's part of the setup procedure. But okay, so this just shows dropping the leg, stabilising legs on the side. Um, so you just pull the arm out there,
lower it down to whatever position you would like.
yeah, and it just clips in, and that can actually go on a couple of angles, and then you just insert in there and wind that until it's stable, and that'll keep it. And just to the rear here, there's the dolly leg, so you can just lower that a bit to get these up if the feet, are just having a problem coming down. Okay, so what we want to do, control. Yeah, so next what we want to do is before we thread any line or attach anything, what we want to do is, first of all, we'll just go to, we just want to attach the hand controller here. So if you can see, there's the plug. That's the hall sensor for position sensing on the motor. That some of the information the controller uses. But yeah, we just want our hand controller to go in the side here.
And that just sits in there.
So
Just the controller.
yeah, now this is probably a good opportunity to just show this. So when we start the winch up, we want to make sure that this little dial is in the braking range, not in paying, because if we start the winch with it in that, it'll actually start reeling the line in. So we'll just put it under run winch rather than dump tension. What dump tension will do is it will, whatever it's doing, will just suddenly remove all tension with a short down ramp of about a second, and drop all tension to the winch. So it'll have virtually no regen braking on it either. So yeah, if you just hit that, if somebody's say locking out or anything, that'll automatically just dump the tension. You're much better off though, towing, to just quickly move it to zero, because that'll do it in a nice orderly fashion. You won't suddenly let the tension off the line or anything like that. Okay, back to here. So we've got our hand controller inserted, and we've got our smartphone app ready. So we haven't applied the power yet, so we won't connect the smartphone app. But so as we can see here, yes. So we just want to, at this point, we've already put, yeah, here's just a quick how we put the guide arm here. So we've just got two bimini little clips here. So we just put the trailer down, so we don't want the line getting in the way. That's in the when the winch is operating, we want that down. And as you can see, you just click one inside there, take the pin out, and click the other one in. And we want to leave the line on at this stage. We normally use a little bit of Velcro or electrical tape to keep that there so we can spin it up for testing. Okay, so go back to here. So, yeah, we've got our guide arm out. and we've got the controller plugged in. We've got our smartphone out, ready. Okay, so most importantly, we want that in the at least in the, just a little bit in the negative region in braking there when we start the motor. So that's in the regenerative braking rather than the pull-in mode. So as we can see here, this is the primary power for the battery system. That is a 400 amp, 500 volt rated 13 kiloamp fuse, so that's quite an expensive fuse, and that protects the system if we have a short in the controller or anything like that. So, yep, so we just turn that on. Okay, and over here, when we're just about to turn, so we've made sure that that's in the braking zone. And the pre-charge switch, and all that does is there's some big capacitors in the controller, and they need to charge for a very short period. It's only a few milliseconds, but for that little bit of time, there's quite a large current draw into them. You can get away with turning it on without it a few times, but over time it will damage them. So you just want to press that in and hold it for 3 seconds, and then just turn the power on. Yep. And as you can see here, the controller will fire up probably a couple of seconds to boot, and as you can see, we've got it in the negative range there, so it's not moving. And if we just test it here, yeah, it helps if we put the hand controller in. And yeah, so yeah, as we can see. Now it's important, if you just noticed here, that spun up nice and smoothly. There wasn't any hesitation on it. Sometimes, occasionally you might get a positioning problem. This cable here that goes in here, you'll get it jiggling and hesitating. That'll definitely mean that. So really, you just want to get some contact cleaner, spray this and reconnect it, and then it'll, yeah, it won't jiggle, but that shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, at that point, you're ready to now put that knob back in the braking zone, and we want to thread the line through the bar. So that's pretty straightforward. We've just got to generally probably have a bit of Velcro. We want to make sure that's in the braking zone. And just something to note there, the regenerative braking, the more you set, the harder it is to obviously pull the line off. So if you're running the line out, I'd recommend, especially if you've got a car, probably set 30 to 40% of what's, there's a static value configured in the controller, so that's not, yeah, you probably want to set that at about 40%, and yeah, just pull it out like that. What that does is, as the car's going along, if the car really lays the line out quickly, like 40, 50 k's an hour, if they suddenly vary their speed and let it go thing, it doesn't overrun and throw line out, because it'll have quite a bit of braking on it. So yeah, that's just a point to keep in mind. Okay, as we see here, just taking that little bit of electrical tape and just thread it through there, and we've actually already got the chute ready there, but we'll just take that opportunity to show us the chute packing and unpacking. It's not critical, it just saves it from getting tangled up. So what we'll do is we might do the unpacking first. So yeah, let's have a look at this. It's just in a bag. and you just pull it out.
Even just in between flying and picking up.
Yeah, so you roll it out, and there'll just be the leader line in there. Now that's a nice long bit of line that goes from the peak of the chute out to the pilot. And what the length of that's for is you want it nice and clear of the pilot. So there's quite a distance out there. So when the pilot releases and the drogue opens, it's not immediately close to the pilot. And we've just got a shackle on the end there. Let's go. Yeah. So that will go onto the pilot, and then this end goes on. So we undo it, and that's ready to go onto the line. So you just want to make sure these are, untangled, and you can run it out a bit, like a good distance, and then just pull it in and give it a test if you want to. And obviously just packing up is just the reverse of that. So you want to get it out, just wind that up, and put that one in first, just nicely lay it in over there, and just fold this up, put that in there, and just roll a bit over, separate it, and then put the other one in there, and just chuck it in the bag. So that's good. Okay, and have we still got that video up? Yeah, just go to the end of this. And yeah, as you can see here, we're pretending that the car is the pilot, and yeah, that just goes onto there. The shackle. Yeah, now what we want to do is we'll just go through the smartphone operation, the application. So yeah, so you'll best to just use the Android phone that's coupled with the Winch. You can install it on your phone if you want. You just need the specific version of a thing called Tool. So yeah, we'd have it on the phone there. We just start the phone up, any normal smartphone, same operation, and we just click Tool, and it will see the 3-shield controller. You've got a range of about, I don't know, 5 or 6 meters, just because of the metal cover cage over the front of it kind of forms a Faraday cage, so it sort of kills the Bluetooth signal a bit. If you open it, it'd probably be a lot further, but you don't need to because it covers all the area around the trailer. So if the winch is on, you'll see this, and just click connect, and you'll get this screen up, and it'll just take a little bit of time. It'll connect to it, and you'll see App UI appear. So you just want to click on that, and there you go. And here you basically have your tension real time, which I'll mention something about how that measures that. Your battery amps, if you're interested in battery versus motor amps, you could Google that on YouTube, because you'll find that, for instance, when you're towing a paraglider, it's relatively low speed. You'll have really high current on the motor side, but you'll actually see a lot less coming out of the battery, which is interesting. But it's just the way the controller synthesizes the signal for the 3-phase motor. You've got line out there. That's kind of experimental, and depending on how the line wraps on the drum, it can be a little bit inaccurate. So that was just an experimental. It's not really important. You've got your controller temp there. You've got your motor temp. They're configured in software to start cutting or throttling at 80 degrees. and will cut completely out at 100, so it'll just cut the tension on the motor, stop the tow. But the controller's got a large heatsink and fan force, which will kick in at 50 degrees, and often I've seen it not even reach that on the paragliders. It's more of the hang glider thing. You'll probably see the fan kick on. And we'll just see here. I think on this the winch cover was scraping on the thing, so it's a bit noisy. So yeah, as you can see, the slider there sets the tension, and that gives you the current set tension. There we go, you can see that updating. Battery amps, your line speed just in RPM. But yeah, so yeah, that's just how you set the desired maximum tension. And then, yeah, if we just look back at the hand controller, yeah, after you set that tension, and there you go. So for instance, on the application, if you set 100 kilos, and you set it to yeah, 40% of that 100 kilos, obviously that's 40 kilos. And yeah, so we'll just run through kind of the launch procedure in a second. Yeah, so that's pretty well the winch ready to go. So yeah, we've covered that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, towing a hang glider versus a paraglider. So we'll probably go back to the hand controller. That's probably the best. Where are we? Where's our video? Yeah. So when you're launching a paraglider, what I would suggest is you set your obviously your maximum tension, and you'll be on the radio, and the pilot will ask you to take up tension. You can just keep increasing it until they're comfortable. You don't want it too tight. Really, that'll just allow them, as you saw in the earlier demonstration, they'll be able to inflate their wing and sort of dance around, get themselves set, and the winch will pull the line and let it go to make sure they don't trip over. I've found that if you get a nice bit of tension, like a reasonable amount of tension, you probably want to just leave that holding tension as they transition to the go slow, because that'll just let them walk slowly along. And then when they go to full go, 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 then just ramp it up to whatever percentage you want to launch them with, and that'll quickly apply that torque over about a second and a half. Yeah, just I wouldn't suggest when you go from take up tension and then to go slow, increasing it, because what you'll risk there is if they're going slow and they're adjusting their wing, you're kind of yanking them. But if you just leave it at that nice take up tension, it still gives them the freedom to move about, to jog, and the winch will take the line with them, keep it out of their way, but it gives them the freedom to slow down and stop and do whatever they want during that go slow period. So with a hang glider, yeah, what I would you can basically just go take up tension, and then there's no real go slow with a hang glider. You just bang on your launch tension, and yeah, just again that dump tension will just completely remove tension off the winch. And if you hit the emergency stop, that cuts power of the whole system and effectively does the same. But a little bit of difference there is when you dump tension on this, it'll have a nice torque ramp down, so it won't quite just let it throw it out. I'd always suggest if if the pilot's like sort of heading sideways on the tow, just use that to lessen it, because it nice and neatly will take off pressure and apply pressure on the toe rather than just throwing it off and the line going everywhere. As I said before, we have got those line catches and the guard to help it out, but it's just a bit better if you do it that way. Okay, startup precautions, operating safe. So we ran through the startup precautions. You really just want to make sure people are clear of the winch. And you don't run the line out, make sure it's still on the drum when you start it up so you can test the motor, make sure it's going all right, and then you can thread it out. Operating safety, you want to make sure people are clear of the winch and nobody's sort of just messing around with the trailer. You also want to just keep an eye on the battery terminals. In the future, that'll all be enclosed in the lithium system, but if you just there's a bit of sort of marine carpet that goes across the top. Again, the e-stop, as we saw before on the side of it, is a complete power cut to the system, so it's a no-brainer on that. You always want to have, there's a hook knife included with the kit, and you always want that to be on the side of the trailer ready if you just need to, if you get some unusual snag or a lockout. And retrieving the line with a drogue chute, if I just go to here, sorry, we'll go back. We'll just look in this video here, and as we can see, we'll get to the part where it's sort of that are we retrieving the line at this point. Yeah, we can see the drogues deployed there. It's winding in. So what you want to do is you really want to be pulling the line in. I generally just try and pull it in as fast as I can, which means I can sometimes apply quite a lot of torque to it. But you really want about 40, 50 kilos of pressure as you're rewinding the drogue in, because then it really nicely, really wraps it tightly on the drum and actually lays it quite uniformly, which is really good. So here we see that sudden speed up. There we go. So we can hear the speed of the winch coming in. It's retrieving that line. And you just want to be careful. You just want to watch that line, especially if it goes slack or flies out. Just keep an eye. The guard catch and the guards should keep that from happening, but you just want to make sure that it hasn't got tangled or anything. So just keep an eye on it as you're winding it in. And as I said, one of the benefits of stop that. No. Slide. If we go back to the hand control there.
Almost 100% of
Yeah, the real handy thing is, unlike some other, like the hydraulic rewinds and even friction brake, we have a lot of mass moment in the drum, and it creates a lot of inertia. So a lot of the time I've seen those just rip through and pull through. The great thing about this is the drum's relatively well, it's not like some of those bigger, hasn't got as much inertia in as some of those bigger drums, but you can jam on very strong regenerative braking. So as you're pulling it in and as it's coming, I recommend just leaving it a good amount out, but you can really push this to 100 and it'll just really slow that drum up quickly, so you're not going to have that problem of pulling line through. And it's sometimes a good thing to just, before you've run the line out and the line's still on the drum, to give it a bit of speed and then just really pull that up and see how strong that braking and how effective that is. Whoops, don't know what happened there. Yeah, we've gone through the drogue chute. Yeah, torque versus speed versus friction payout winches. Yeah, as I explained before, the system automatically adjusts the tension. But the thing to keep in mind, unlike this is paragliders aren't so much of a concern because they don't need the speed to take off like a hang glider. But if you've been used to, especially in low winds, if you're used to static towing a hang glider, and you can really, even do like a jackrabbit start where you leave a bit of slack and then just have the car reef you off the ground so you're not running. Um, and we'll just have a look in this video here of where are we? Yeah, this is an example. Um, so what we've done here is, as we've seen just back over here in our PowerPoint presentation, um, you know, force equals, mass acceleration. And if we want really, really fast acceleration for a given mass, obviously that's going to require a lot more force. And like as when you're in a car and you want to, if you're up to speed and you're maintaining that speed and that to push the car at a given weight, it takes a lot less force to do that. But to accelerate dead weight up to that speed, so in the case of a hang glider, you have to pull a glider and a guy who's just running along the ground. There's no lift being produced, and it's the direction of the force is directly ahead. So you haven't got into an arc, you haven't got the glider flying and trimming, and then so it's sort of arcing up. So really, if you want to take off really hard, you're going to have to set your maximum tension to probably something like 140 kilos, and get the operator in low, and this is in low wind, to then just command, really heavy on the takeoff, so it reefs you off the ground. Listen to them as they're going through, walking, 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 running, 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 flying, 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 and as soon as they start climbing, much like a static tow, then you can just adjust it back to the set tension. As we can see here, this launch was at about 90 kilos, and the pilot just has to run because you've just applied 90 kilos of force to accelerate that. See, they're having to run, and he's off there. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you think you're running a lot or whatever, it's just the nature of towing. Like if you do a static tow where you've got a rope behind a car, you can just gun that car, and for the small amount of time when you're transitioning from running, the glider isn't flying to flying and trimming, there's a horrendously larger amount of pulling force that's hidden, because basically, if you've ever static towed before, you just go like crazy in nil wind. You watch the pilot, you listen to them, and you just bury your foot until they're flying and just climbing. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. If you go to tow and you think that you're running a bit in nil wind, you want to set a large maximum tension, and use that to launch, and then get the operator to lower it down. Yeah, hydro and friction brake. In this case here, you are burning off that difference with heat. In the case of a hydro, you're dumping into a heat exchanger, and you're running it through a valve to maintain a certain amount of flow and therefore tension. Friction brake is just applying a particular amount of friction which goes into the friction surface and is lost as heat. The cool thing about this winch is if you were to run it in payout, which you can, we don't sort of do that yet, is all that lost energy is converted into power and recharges the battery. And another cool thing is when you're laying out the line, if you, as I said before, if you are having a bit of regen on the line, you you're charging the battery, yeah, and it actually have seen it. 3 or 4 of those regen layouts can recuperate a toe. Yeah, and we've just gone through that static towing. So yeah, that's about it. So